Hi, I'm Cam Powell. I'm with Sporting Life in Collingwood, and a lot of people may ask, where do we start? I like to start with footbeds, ski boots. Generally, if your foot's comfortable, you can have a better day. As far as how do you fit the foot, generally we start with a fitting guide, which is a recommendation that gives an idea in regards to the skier's height, weight, and age. So that's more of a selection guide to make sure we get you in the right boot. A lot of times I see athletes mid-season, and a lot of the time it's because their boots are too big. Their toes should touch the end, their foot should be held into the back of the boot, and that's generally by this particular buckle and doing it up securely. These two buckles should just close to keep snow out, and then the upper buckle should provide contact to the front of the leg. We do a lot of work with more supportive insoles, and traditionally it's too expensive for a lot of the boot companies to put in supportive insoles. We're trying to stabilize the house, to try to provide a foundation for fit underneath the foot. We want to make sure that the boot does a really good job of holding the instep and the foot back into the rear foot. This particular fit line is a lot of the time overlooked because length has always been number one priority. For me, it's how the boot does a good job of securing and holding the foot back into the heel pocket. Where do we start? Basically, you can't fit what you cannot see. So I've asked Kristen to take her sock off. Here you've got a pretty good idea of, Kristen's basically got a three-legged table, and generally the fourth leg is under the arch. So generally, where do we start? We start with a very, a good thin ski sock. She has a good sock on here presently, but we want to measure the foot, and we basically want to have a snapshot of Kristen's foot. So typically ski boots are made in Mondo. So when I slide this bar and ask Kristen to slightly flex at the ankles and knees, she's measuring a 24.5. This bar determines the width of her foot. So using the length, the width, and trying to determine the instep height, you're trying to determine balance to the foot so that you can put Kristen in the best shell possible. This is called a sock liner. The sock liner basically is inside the liner of the ski boot. There's not a lot of support there. Generally what we try to do is we try to improve the foundation of Kristen's support by catering to the heel and cupping the heel, supporting the heel, and then double checking the arch. In this case, we could go to a custom insole because her foot has stopped growing, but for a younger athlete, we do a lot of these because they're still growing U10, U12. Basically for Kristen, we've analyzed the length of her foot. We're going to maybe recommend a more supportive insole to complement her arches. Slide your foot off there for me. We're then going to liner size. What liner size means is we're going to take the liner out of the boot and the packing foam. This is the typical sock liner that comes in the ski boot. We're going to get rid of this or use it as a template so we can put the superfoot in. So this is coming out, the superfoot's going in. Liner sizing involves asking Kristen to slide her foot into the liner, and this should fit like a comfortable, snug slipper. Her toes should be comfortably feathering the front. There's L pads in the liner which are pushing Kristen's foot forward. So ideally what we're trying to do is to stabilize her foot with the insole, to double check that the liner is fitting properly. Slide your foot out for me. We're going to ask you to slide the foot in the shell. This is called shell sizing. And ideally that's where you can determine whether you have 1 finger, 1.5 fingers behind Kristen's heel. We're going to ask her to slide her toe to the front. And ideally we want to have a look in the back of the boot to make sure we can get 1 or just maybe a little bit more than 1.5 fingers. And that boot looks okay. We're going to put the liner in the shell. Help her get into the boot. If I can get you to grab the liner with both hands and on the back too, and pull up and bend forward. Have a seat for me for 2 secs. So the function of a buckle is to keep snow out. So these two front buckles should be done very light. The most important buckle in this business is this one, trying to pull and draw her heel back into the heel pocket. And this should be comfortably secure up against the front of her leg. The power strap should come across and should be done up nice and snug. So these guys are generally loose. This is super tight, typically. Second tightest, closed to keep snow out, and just closed so we're not applying too much pressure on top of her foot.